Welcome to Behind the Business podcast. Each week, I'll be sharing episodes taking you behind the scenes of industry-leading creative small businesses. We'll talk about the real-life, messy behind-the-scenes process of what it takes to build a successful business. Hopefully, each episode helps you combat the perception of perfection within our industry. I hope each episode encourages you to keep showing up no matter how imperfectly, so that you can make your own unique impact on this world. Grab a cup of coffee or wine and let's dive right in. Cheers. All right. Hi, guys. I have Jen with me here today. I'm so excited to have her on. She was my coach, and I just felt like I learned so much from you, and I'm so honored and excited to have you on our series today. So, Jen, can you let everyone know just how you got started in entrepreneurship?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Manali, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. So I'm Jen Diaz, mindset and success coach for women entrepreneurs. And oh man, how I got started in entrepreneurship. I actually studied exercise science. You know, I try not to go back to like when I was born on November 5th, but I was really fortunate growing up, for real though, that my parents always asked, like, find something you're passionate about and then like go do that. So like, what do you want to do with your life? What are you passionate about? What do you love? And so thankfully early on, before I was going to college, I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to do with my life. I mean, who does at 18? And so at the time I'd played sports my whole life. And I was like, I don't know, I don't really want to have a job where I sit all day, which is kind of funny because that's what I do now. And so I thought, well, I've played sports, I've been active. I'll go to school and do exercise science, and I'll be an exercise physiologist, personal trainer, and see like where that takes me. And I'd always been like, I was raised in my dad was a pastor, very spiritual household. And so it's kind of like, what's your purpose? Like, what do you feel like your purpose is in life? And I was always really drawn to, I wanted to live very fully. I wanted to just make sure I was intentional with my life. And I thought, I was like, well, I can help people do that through like taking care of themselves and their health and fitness and stuff. And so I graduated college, got my first job. I was at a private personal training studio and worked there for a year and a half. And it just didn't like love it. I had been asked before then, like, Jen, would you ever want to work for yourself and be an entrepreneur? And I remember being like, absolutely not. No, that would be way too much pressure. I have no idea how. Like, I didn't study business. I have no background in that. I don't have like I don't even know where I would begin. So that was never my plan. And then after working at this place for about a year and a half, I was like, I'm miserable. I love my clients. I don't like working here, and I don't really know what else to do. And so it was really ironic. Like when we had like weekly meetings, and the morning before our meeting, I was literally like praying. I was like, I'm so like, just like not aligned. I'm not happy. I'm really miserable and I don't know what to do. I signed a non-compete. I feel stuck. Like, I don't know what's going on or what I'm going to do, but I can't keep doing this. And then that afternoon at the meeting, like things blew up with like between the owner and another trainer. And it was just like, in that moment, I was like, this is so toxic. I can't be here. And me and the other trainers all walked out. And like abruptly, it was, and I mean, I was shaking and I was like, oh my gosh, I have no idea what I'm doing. I called my dad and I was like, I just quit my job. I have no idea. And he was like, all right, I'm praying for you. Just let me know what you need if you need anything. And I was like, okay, cool. And thankfully it all, like, long story short, I had built up such a strong rapport with the clients that I'd worked with that they were incredibly supportive. My old boss ended up not pursuing the non-compete. I finished out 2 weeks there and left very amicably, as much as I could. And from that point on, I was like, all right, girl, we're just going to figure this out. And I, at the time, would train people in their homes, or they would meet me at a park. And I was just going to like people, or they were coming to me, and I was just making it work. And it was exhilarating a little bit because, you know, I had no plan. I had no savings. It was really probably stressful, stressful and exhilarating
Exactly.
at
It's the
the same time,
Yeah.
because I was in survival mode, and it was kind of a neat thing. That was like, I look back on that and I'm like, wow, that was divine intervention for me, because I'd never planned on that. And it's one of the best things that has ever happened. And then, years go by, I started getting a little bit like feeling like, okay, I'm not quite doing what I want to be doing. I care a lot more about the conversations I'm having with my clients in between the sets of the exercise. I don't care so much about the fitness piece. And I learned about coaching and positive psychology. And so I was like, okay, I'll do more of this, and leaning into that. And then now I've worked for myself for a decade and have met amazing entrepreneurs during that time, all virtually, well, not all virtually, but a lot of them virtually. And just saw such a need for the mindset work, so that we can maintain some sanity when the pressure is all on us, and working for ourselves and trying to go after, dreams, which I feel like, the glass ceiling's been a little bit shattered for us in the entrepreneurial sense. There's so much possible in the age of social media and the internet. And so it really kind of naturally unfolded for me to step into this mindset work and working with female entrepreneurs. It was never my plan, but it was, looking back, I can see like a thread of, oh yeah, this is where I'm supposed to be right now, and where I was meant to be for a while. So that's the long story, I guess.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Started.
Because I don't think I've ever heard like the full story from start to finish before, especially like from you. So that's really cool. And just to see kind of like how the journey took place and now like where you are now. But I wanted to ask, like, how was that transition from, okay, like you've worked for yourself and you've had like your physical training clients, but then like, what was it like stepping into like a mindset and success coach? Like, did it feel really different? And did you have any fear around like making that transition, or was it like a pretty smooth and natural transition for you?
No, it was really terrifying. And I mean, I did health coaching for a while, and then I ironically was getting a lot of other women entrepreneurs that I was working with in that. And we'd end up talking a lot about like work and the mentality around that. And the health was kind of like a subset of it, just naturally. And so in a way it didn't feel hard. But then when it came time for me to fully transition, I had in-person clients that I had been working with for like a decade consistently.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And who I loved deeply and cared about. And they saw me grow up, because I started working for myself when I was like, they knew me when I was like 23, some of them 22. And now I was 32. Yeah. When I finally made that full transition. And it was really hard. I think I was fortunate because I was able to, there was another friend entrepreneur that I knew, Shannon Monson, who was doing some coaching and had asked me to step in and be a coach in her program. And that was kind of my first step into the fully just the entrepreneur, like coaching entrepreneur space. And, meeting her and other people who I think saw me in a different way than I had known myself was really helpful. And sometimes you need people to see you and in a different light than what people who've known you for a long time, or even your own light, and for them to be like, oh yeah, this is what you do. Like, this is great. And so that definitely helped me in so many ways have some more confidence. But when I fully transitioned and basically broke up with my clients, which was like a full week of just heartache and alignment, I knew it was time, because I was starting to feel that like I wasn't excited about, doing that work anymore. And I had pushed through some things in the past, and that just doesn't bode well for anyone. So it was terrifying, even though I knew it was absolutely right. And it was really, really hard. And there were definitely moments where I was very scared to do that, especially, now coaching, I just run my own programs and see my own clients. And there were moments where it was like, you really have to step into betting on yourself, really trusting yourself, believing in yourself, which, as you know, it takes so much of our own inner work too. And so it really forced me to lean in. And it's been just an incredible journey. Like the last really almost 2 years have felt so aligned for me, and just, it's really been amazing, and it's been challenging in its own way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes total sense. And I loved what you said of sometimes it takes other people kind of seeing something in you before you can even see it for yourself. Because I feel like that you were that person for me, because I had very much so learned from a lot of different like people within the same like wedding industry, if not just photographers. And I think in my head, I was like, I'm like just a photographer that's like in this industry. And you were one of the first people to be like, no, like I totally see you kind of in more of that educator role that you're like trying to switch into. And it's like, I think it's helpful sometimes to have somebody see that potential within you. Like you have the spark of it within yourself, but then having somebody who can kind of see that on the outside is super helpful, because we like feel all of the fear and all of the doubts and the worries, and still see the little spark of potential. And I know that you always say, like, for your clients, like you see the absolute like best in the potential, and you don't have all of those like thoughts as you're coaching them. So I think it's always been really, really helpful to have somebody that's like, I'm viewing you in the most positive light. I know it's something that you can achieve, and I'm going to help you navigate like all of these like fears and stuff that are maybe like getting in the way of you actually hitting that potential, because it's very, very possible for you. So that's been something that I've loved that you do so well for your clients.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, it helps. I mean, I'm lucky. I have, my husband is incredibly supportive, and I have, some friends who are amazing as well, who I can go to when I'm feeling really fearful, and, my own limiting beliefs are getting super loud, who I can like voice that to, and they're empathizing and can hold space for me. And also like remind me, like, this is what I see when I see you. This is what is possible. And sometimes it's helpful too, because like you said, we have like an inkling, right? We have this, this gut feeling like, I really want to do that, but I don't know, can I, am I allowed? And when someone else is like, oh yeah, I could totally see you doing that. It's so possible. It's this like boost of confidence that you need. And one of the, quotes I remember when I was getting certified to become a coach, one of the strong quotes that they were like, you need to embody this as a coach, that as a coach, my belief is greater than your doubt as a client, that you believe in your client so much that it is bigger than any self-doubt or fear that they could have, so that they can borrow that. Because sometimes we have to borrow someone else's belief in us before we fully believe it in ourselves. And that's why I think community is so important for us to have, especially if we want to be successful long-term and healthy.
Yeah, I love that. And that was actually kind of touches on something that I was going to ask you about, of like, what is maybe one limiting belief or fear that you've had to kind of navigate throughout entrepreneurship? I'm sure there's like so many things that you could probably dive into, but is there anything that you're like, this is something that maybe at one point you're like, oh, I totally tackled this, and then it showed up in a different way, and it's something that you're still kind of like working through?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Two common themes for me that come up is like the fear of being seen, and the fear of shining brightly. And underneath that, the big one of I'm not enough. That enoughness has played just such a role in my life, or seeking that in different ways. And, it's something that I'll probably always be like faced with, and it definitely shows up in different ways for me. And so, I know I was talking to my own coach, and I was like, I thought I'd figured this one out. Like I thought I'd overcome this. And she was like, you're going to keep bumping into it probably for the rest of your life. And that's just how it goes. And it's up to you to figure out what to do with it. And so now kind of not making friends with it, but just kind of accepting that part of myself that is fearful and wounded and doubts a lot, and just kind of being like, girl, I hear you. I know where this is coming from, and we're okay. Like just reassuring that. And it just, anytime I do something new, or anything, sometimes, and some days I just have down days that fear is really loud. And now I'm like, I'm not really hard on myself anymore. I'm not like, you should have figure this out. You're a mindset coach and you can't even,
Mm-hmm.
I don't let that go. I just kind of accept it as, oh, this is part of the journey. And
Mm-hmm.
I have to figure out how to move through it at each level. And it makes it a lot more compassionate of a way of living for me, which has been really helpful, kind of like an acceptance of all of the parts of me, which I'm still working on, and having compassion for that as I move through it.
Yeah, I love that. And I even can like resonate with that of like going through your program. I had so many like light bulb moments, and it was like working really hard to just like understand things a little bit deeper and not necessarily fix things overnight by any means, but like start to work towards like thinking more positively around certain parts of things and like fear, especially. And you know, it's never like, oh, I've like completely conquered it. Like it's gonna keep showing up in different ways. So I love that you mentioned that as one of the things, and almost like just like the enoughness is like something that it's okay to keep working towards it. Like throughout your whole life. It's not necessarily that something that you ever master, even as like a mindset coach.
Yeah, that was something, you know, when I first got into doing the inner work, it underlying was to fix myself. There was a lot of drive for perfection still, and drive, like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to overcome my limiting beliefs so I can be perfect in this perfect high version of myself where I don't struggle with that fear. I'm just great. And so underneath it was still that you got to prove you're enough. You got to become enough. You have to be, you've got to perfect yourself. And I think over time, obviously realizing, oh, wait, first off, there is nothing to fix. Second, we're never done with this work. This is a lifelong journey. And at first I had a moment where I was like, oh my gosh, you're kidding. Like, I have to keep doing this stuff. When will I? And then after it was like this moment of comfort, and it's like, oh wait, I can do all the things that I want to do now. I don't have to wait until I become this different version of myself. I can step into her now, as imperfect as I am. And I don't have to keep putting off things. So that was something that has been a really important lesson for me. And I think a lot of things when people start doing the inner work is to remember, like, we're not here to fix you. We're here to give you tools and to teach you how to navigate the very natural thoughts and feelings that come with living in a different way and facing fears and trying new things.
Yeah, I love that. And just to take things in a little bit of a different direction, I wanted to hear, what are your days or weeks like? I know there probably shifts a little bit depending on like the different clients that you have at any given point, but do you have like a behind the scenes of like, what does it look like to run your business on a weekly or a daily basis, whichever one?
Yeah, right now, I mean, let's take like an ideal week. I do have one client on a Monday, but normally Mondays are my like creative days. So I'm writing my email newsletters or any other emails that I have. And so that's like a big writing day for me, maybe coaching. Sometimes I have my hair done on that day too. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays are really big coaching days. So I'll coach one-on-one clients. I'll have my mastermind group calls with clients. And I'm really on those days, that's primarily what I do. I'm not really doing much other work because I just don't, the energy it takes, I don't have it. So I've learned to just let that be enough. And then Fridays right now are kind of wrapping things up, making sure I've responded to emails. I'll have some discovery calls on Fridays. I have therapy on Friday. And that day for me is just kind of, it's really easy. I think when eventually I would love to take Friday off totally, but that's just not where I am right now. Or sometimes I'll take it off and then work on Saturday or Sunday, either one, depending on the weekend that we have. So that's what it looks like right now. Each day, I try to start it with the same like routine about. So the morning I get coffee, take care of my dogs, and then sit down and journal and do visualization and kind of get my mind wrapped around, okay, what do I need to do today? What are my action items for the day? I'll usually work out and then get ready to write or coach. And then the evening just shifts. Like we have dinner. Sometimes we go out, which is my favorite, my preferred, when I don't have to cook or clean my kitchen.
Same.
Yeah. Love doing that. And just hanging out on the couch, usually watching a show or, reading up on something that I'm interested in at the time. So it's pretty much, that's where I'm at the moment. I joke because at this point in time, I feel like I'm doing a little bit of the least right now, because I've just tried to scale back. I am starting something that I'm super excited about. So I've been putting some energy into that, but I'm not really showing up as consistently on social media at the moment. And I just don't have a lot of energy around it right now. And it's something that I'm like, you know what, I'll do what I can there, but I'm not going to stress out about it for now. And when I feel excited about being on there again, I'll do it. So right now it's just a lot of serving my clients that I have and the email list community that I have, and working on the project that is launching in December. And so that's really what I'm focused on at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I love that you give yourself the flexibility to pull away from one side of the business. So social media for a time, if you're working on something that is intensive and is going to take a lot of your energy, especially to start it up. So I really admire that flexibility, because I tend to be a person who gets so stuck in doing something a certain way that I almost won't allow myself to take a step back in order to do something else. And I think that that's super important, and something that I'm still working on as an entrepreneur, and giving myself the space to follow things that I am actually really, really excited about too.
Yeah, it's taken, I've definitely had seasons in my career where I worked all the time. It was early in the morning, late at night, weekends. And I was very much in a hustle. I've got to do all the things. I can't let anything slip. And there's so much about those seasons that I learned a lot of important lessons. So I don't necessarily regret them, but I also don't want to live my entire life that way. Yeah, I definitely want to prioritize joy in my life, relationships in my life, and have time for that and just to be. And so, now that's kind of where I'm going. I'm I refuse to do everything I'm supposed to do as an entrepreneur. And so far it's worked pretty well this year. So, I'm learning to go with those ebbs and flows, and it's felt so much more aligned and just so much more freeing than it used to before, which a lot of that's a mentality too, is not shitting all over myself all the time, and just allowing myself to believe, abundantly that I can be successful without driving myself into the ground and without doing the most 24/7.
What is one piece of advice that you would give Jen 5 years ago?
Oh my gosh. Just do it. Take action very, very fast. That's one thing. I think I let fear paralyze me sometimes. And I'll think about something for a long time before doing it. And I wish I could go back and just be just show up, just be imperfect, just do it. Don't care. Don't think about what people think. Don't think about the outcome. Stop concentrating on the outcome you want and focus on what would be fun, and try it now. Don't wait.
I love that. And then what is something that's been keeping you inspired and motivated lately?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think for me, what's inspiring and motivating me is really figuring out how I want my life to feel, and finding examples of women who refuse to be put in a box and refuse to, do everything the expected way. And so I really admire women who are multi-passionate, who have, I know a friend who's a coach and a photographer, and has all these other hobbies that she really dedicates time towards. And I really admire that. And so just lately I've been looking at, I want to live a very interesting life, and I want it to feel full of joy and full of connection and love and purpose. And my work is a part of that, but it certainly isn't all of that, and it shouldn't be. And so I've been really inspired to kind of create that life for myself, that I feel like I'm a whole human being and not just, a two-dimensional entrepreneur. And that motivates me because of the peace that it gives me, the fulfillment and joy it gives me. I want my clients to experience that too, and to know like you can be successful, but it's not going to mean anything if you reach all these goals. And once you get there, you look around and you're just like, I don't even like my day-to-day life. I don't love how I'm spending my time. I don't like, what am I supposed to, now that I'm here? Like, you might have all the money you wanted to make in the dream home, but that's not going to fix what we often think it would. And so I want to make sure that I'm still shooting for things. I'm still like going after goals while I'm experiencing the goodness of this present moment.
Yeah, I love that. Part of the talk that I'm giving later today is kind of like, how can you have your goals, craft your goals, but then how are you kind of like taking day-to-day action that helps cultivate the feeling that you think you're going to get by achieving the goal? Like, instead of pushing it off until then, like, how can you cultivate that feeling every day? So I loved that you mentioned that. But we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for being on here. Where can people find you and follow you online?
Yeah. So my website's jenniferdiaz.com. My Instagram is @JenMDiaz. And then you can find me in December on YouTube, Jennifer Diaz Coaching. So yeah, find me there.
That's awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jen. It was so fun.
Thanks, Manali. This is great. I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
If you loved this episode, be sure to check out my free masterclass for photographers to help you book out your wedding photography business this upcoming year. I chat through 3 key tips that you can start implementing today to confidently raise your prices and book those dreamy clients. You can sign up at manaliphotography.com/class, CLASS. I'll see you inside.